Hi there, Year 9, and a huge welcome back. It's not the conventional welcome back that we would have liked to have given you, but welcome nonetheless. So, what are we going to be doing in this first week of the spring term? Well, we are going to be studying a very exciting text throughout the spring term up until Easter that is called Heroes. Now, in order for us to be able to understand this text, we do need to get a handle on the context of World War II. Now, I'd like you to remember that context refers to the social, cultural, and historical events that surround a text. So it could be the time that a text was written in, or indeed the times that a text was set in. Now, this will enable us to hit the ground running when we do come to exploring the texts. We'll be very, very clear on our understanding of what the world was like at this important time in history. During the course of this week, you will see that I will have divided the tasks into 3 hours. That will be the course of your normal lesson schedule for English. And so I'd like you to follow that in as much detail and with as much accuracy as possible. This week, we'll be asking you to do some fab research, okay? And you may use the internet, of course, to help you. And I'm now going to give you some more details on what you're going to do. So my lovelies, before we start to get stuck into the nitty-gritty of what I want you to do this week, we're going to start thinking about New Year's resolutions. So a massive happy new year to you to begin with. And I want you to think about what a New Year's resolution is all about. What it is it's really something that we set out to improve in our lives. And we're not going to take a whole life approach here. I'm not a life coach after all. But what I want you to do is to think about how you can improve yourselves in English. Now, most of you are practically perfect in every way already, of course, but there are always things that we can refine and reshape. So, what I'm going to get you to do in just a moment is to look at these 3 sentence starters on the slide. The first sentence starter is going to get you to think about one thing that you need to improve in English. Now, make it something small. So the sentence starter is, my New Year's resolution in English is to. At this point, you need to think about something that you know you need to work on. It could be based on teachers' assessment of your work. It could be something that you know you struggle with. So examples that you might include could be vocabulary, punctuation, spelling. It could be something very small like that. And I want it to be something small, something achievable. But the next thing that you need to do is you need to think about how you're going to achieve it. Because unless you really think that through, folks, it's pretty difficult, isn't it, to achieve a New Year's resolution. So if you say that you want to lose weight, but you don't actually think about how you're going to do it, it's never going to happen. And the same applies for English. So how are you going to achieve this? If you were to choose an idea, say, improving your vocabulary, you might suddenly decide, well, I need to perhaps read some more books, expose myself to a raft of better words. That would be a great way to do it. The final thing that you need to do is to think about when you're going to review it. How long do you need to show that you have met your New Year's resolution? Will it be by Easter? Will it be by the end of the summer term? And how will you know that? So when you're ready, my lovelies, please pause me. Start your sentences as I have in your exercise books or on a piece of paper if you don't have your books with you, and really think about what you need to do to improve. So pause and go. Right, now this is for your first hour, and you can always dribble this over into the second hour of the week too, because what we as your English teachers would like you guys to do is to create a magnificent, marvellous mind map or a powerfully potent PowerPoint, anything that you wish to, that gives us loads of relevant and delightful information about World War II. So, what we don't want to see, first of all, is we don't want to see loads of information in a boring Word document that you have just copied and pasted from Wikipedia. We don't want that. We want to see what you can do, and we want to encourage you guys to be as creative as possible. Now, for that, you might want to blend images, symbols, words. You might want to find some quotes. You might want to do anything. You might want to do this beautiful montage of images. It's entirely up to you. Play to your strengths. You can make something. I don't mind how you do it. I think you need to just let your creative juices flow. So, what do we want from you? Well, on this slide, you will see that Miss P has put together lots of questions for you. And at the very basic level, okay, I don't want you answering these questions in sentences unless you really feel that that's the only way that you can do your research. What I want you to do is to think about these questions as points that you need to have some information about in your research, okay? Remember, you can put down anything you want about World War II, but when we come back to school, we will be having a quiz on these questions here. So, for example, you're going to need to know when World War II began and ended. That's the first question there. So if you're doing a mind map, for example, you might just want to have those dates in a corner. Perhaps you'll have a timeline somewhere. Maybe that's how you'll present your ideas of this huge timeline with the dates as your starting and ending point for all of the information in the middle. So those of you in top sets, you can just go for it. Extend your research into any areas of interest. That comes on to hour 2 in just a minute. But for everyone else who perhaps needs a little bit of security and support, you can use these questions to help you springboard into your research. So remember, when you're answering these questions, please do more than just respond to them in sentences if you can. All right? So creativity is the key here. So feel free to pause and remember that you can come back to this at any time. Now for your second hour of this week, remember, you can keep working on that research from the first one, but here is where we're asking you to zoom in. And what we're going to ask you to do at this point is to select a minimum of 2 of these areas to research in depth. Now here, I'm going to give you very much some exciting areas that you can look at, but also the freedom to be able to research one area a little bit more deeply that you may have come into contact with through your initial research. So the areas that I would like you to look at, and remember, you just choose 2 of these. So you can choose one of my ideas and indeed one of your own. I want you to have a look at these and see what captures your imagination. I'll read them through right now. You could look into soldiers' injuries, the causes, the treatments, the effects upon their lives, and this can include things like PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. Think about what that is. How does it affect soldiers' lives? You could have a little look at the experiences of women and children in this war. Don't just limit yourself to the UK. Think about it in the Allied nations. An area that I think would be most exciting to look at as well is life in post-war America. I would hope to see that lots of you might choose this one actually, because it will be very relevant to the text. The next thing are for those of you who really do love your literature. And what I could suggest here is that you look for a propaganda poster from World War II, a poem or a short story about this conflict, and explore what they tell you about attitudes and feelings at this time. Now remember, I don't expect you to go and read a whole book. You might just be able to find an extract about a book that was written or set in that time. It could be a page that you want to print out, stick in your books and annotate. It could be something magnificent like that. Or if you're very arty and you love the idea of a propaganda poster, find one from that period. Again, print it out if you do have the facility to do it. And you can definitely make some comments and annotations about what you see in it. For those of you that love your music, who love your performance, who love all of that stuff, think about popular culture in the 1940s. So think about all of that stuff. What got people excited about living in that period of time? The next thing will require you to dig deep, okay? And this is something that's quite a challenging one. And I want you to think about the role of soldiers. Now, when they're in conflict, they experience this band of brotherhood. They're all together, they're united in a common cause. but what happens to them when they return to a normal life? Can you find any examples of soldiers' experiences when they return to a normal life? How does it affect their mental health, perhaps? So it's something to consider. And then finally, you can select, if you wish to, a topic which interests you. So it might be something that you've uncovered in your initial research. When you've used my springboard questions, you may have discovered something that you thought, oh, I'd like to know a little bit more about that. It might be a person that interests you. It could be someone who had quite radical ideas. It could be someone's personal story that touched you. It could be anything like that. So it's your freedom to do it. And again, remember, you can present your ideas in any way you wish. You could present a fact file. You could make me an absolutely beautiful little speech. You could present it in whatever creative way you wish. Or you could just do simple bullet points. You might want to do a word cloud, or you might want to do a mind map. Again, don't limit yourselves. Please try to be imaginative. So when you're ready, you can pause and you can always come back to this to just check your ideas again. Now finally, and this is task 3, this is hour 3, and it's in 2 parts. The first bit is quite little. Now what I'm going to say to you, if you find that your research, okay, is dripping over into hour 3, just do this first bit, okay? I want to make sure that you are sticking to your 3 hours of learning that you would have this week. I don't want you stressing. I don't want you overburdening yourself. I want you to do the research first and foremost to a very high standard. So hour 3 are really for those people, or is really for those people who are very brisk and very quick and very thorough with English, and who might need that little stretch and extension to produce a little bit more work. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to mind map what you consider a hero to be. And so obviously our ideas will be very different. Now, I'm going to think about the times that we're living in, so our modern context. And for me, something that makes a hero is bravery. It is. And so that's my first little note that I've made on the slide. But it would be a bit dull if I stopped there, wouldn't it, Year 9? What I want us to do is to think about how we can get a bit more information out of this. So for this first mind map, you're going to think about using maybe one colour to go around and answer that question, what is a hero? So you're just putting down your adjectives that perhaps describe them. And then you're going to use a second colour to develop and extend that explanation a little bit more. So for example, let's look at what I've got. I've said, as I've already mentioned, that for me, a hero is brave. And I've given an example then in my next box where I've said it's a nurse in time of COVID. Now for this, if I'd had more room on my slide, my lovelies, I would have gone on to expand this a little bit more. And I would have said, because they're putting their lives on the line every day to protect and preserve the lives and health of others. So you've got to think about expanding that a little bit more. Okay, so that will be the first thing that you need to do. And when you're ready, you can pause. Right, so hopefully you've now completed that. I've now got some key questions and you can choose your level. You can answer all 3 or you can just answer 1. And they go up in order of difficulty, they're colour coded. So the red is easier, the yellow is a little bit more tricky, and the green one is certainly tougher. So you just need to write me a couple of sentences for whichever one, or indeed all of them in your books. So the first question, are soldiers always heroic? The second question, why are the military so often given this title? And military, of course, refers to soldiers, sailors, or the RAF. And the final question, how might the meaning of a hero have changed since World War II? And why might this be? So again, you can pause me, and when you're ready, go on to the next slide. And finally, this is part 2. And remember, this is only if you have the time. Please make sure, guys, because you have missed so much learning this year, that you are doing your maximum. Don't rush your research and then have 2 hours playing on your PlayStations. Please make sure that you are recognising that this is just like an ordinary lesson, and you've got to try and maximise your time with these PowerPoints and with the ideas that we're giving you to think about. So if you do get to this bit, I would like you to think about it as an additional creative zone. Some of you are amazing at creative and expressive writing. And what I'm going to invite you to do for this task is to choose a person who you think is heroic based on the ideas you have generated in your mind map. Now, it can be a person that you know or someone who is famous, and I'm sure that lots of you will choose someone like Captain Tom, who is indeed heroic. However, if you choose somebody who is perhaps quite personal to you, you will perhaps be able to write a little bit more emotively and powerfully. But again, the choice is yours. And this is what your task is. You need to explain to me and your teachers in detail why they are heroic. I'll leave it to you now. And all I'm going to say to you folks is that we're all here for you. I want you to try your best with this. I don't want you to be scared of this. I want you to have fun with it. But the most important thing that we want for you guys this week is to stay safe and well. And we're all going to see you very soon, and we're really looking forward to it. So try hard, contact us, contact your teachers if there's any problems whatsoever. But from myself and all of Team English, I will be speaking to you again very soon. Lots of love and take care. Bye.